Uh, like, oh my God, where do we start? So I'm a kind of a fan of Russell Brand, and he's doing his American. Sorry, I'm gonna roundabout get to things. So I kind of really like Russell Brand, except when he's talking about anything COVID related, because he seemed to really go off the rails on that one, and a lot of things that he said just don't fit right. But he's a massively good talker about the power of corporations lobbying, the real problems that we have in our society thanks to big money, big pharma, banks, stock exchange, how money rules everything, how the big corporations are all, dividing us, and they're doing it for the news corporations. They're dividing people, and they're deliberately preying on biases, and they're deliberately preying on gullibility, and the news just isn't news anymore. It's really just points of view, or even worse than that, they are basically just people trying to keep people happy. And and so he was on Tucker Carlson, and they had a nice, lovely discussion. And then he did a follow-up where he was just talking about, he's done quite a few videos where he goes over what happened at a certain interview, and just goes through a couple of points, just kind of summarizes it. And I watched the one where he was, which was just released recently, and he was talking about his his time at Fox, talking to Tucker Carlson, and how he believes this is a really genuine man, and how the guy was really kind to him, and how on many levels they actually agreed on things, and what a lovely guy he is, and all that. And then the only thing I could think of was, at that specific moment in front of you, you being there, and most likely because Russell Brand is such a clever, fast talker, that Tucker Carlson probably realized that he probably shouldn't get into a word fight with him, because he'll probably lose, because Russell Brand tends to be in the right, not on the right, but in the right on many things, especially when it comes to equality and how we should look after each other and these kind of things. But my first thought was that this is not right. This is not on. This is probably not disingenuous, but it is maybe involuntarily disingenuous, in the sense that Tucker Carlson is a big fat fuckwit. He lies and cheats, and he manipulates, and he twists, and he does that to millions and millions of people on a daily basis. And just because he's kind to somebody for 5 minutes does not make him a good person. It makes him a fake. It makes him a liar. And lo and behold, today we have this. So I don't watch much of his stuff, but I know that they have been posting a lot of stuff, or they've been reporting a lot of stuff on how the 6th of January, the insurrection, the Capitol Hill storming, was all actually... they come up with all sorts of things, like it was actually the left that did it, and things didn't actually go as was reported, and actually the police were involved, and this, and all sorts of really weird sidetracking thing, which were quite obviously not true. But obviously he has his audience who believe all that shit. So here we go. So apparently he's now in a lawsuit, and all these kind of things are coming out, what they actually internally talk to one another, and here's proof about what absolute massive fat lying bastards they are. So please watch this, because I couldn't say it any better. So anybody who doesn't like the Young Turks, forget about that for a minute. They are reading off documents that from court, right? So these are actual documents that are submitted. So this is not, made up shit.
Now have even more evidence of Fox's personnel, I should say, privately doubting the 2020 election fraud lies that they publicly championed. Okay, so let's talk about what we know. Yesterday, the Washington Post published a detailed article about the role that Fox News senior vice president Raj Shah played in the network's internal civil war on that matter. Now, Shah served as the White House deputy press secretary and deputy assistant to the president from 2017 to 2019, meaning he was part of the Trump administration. Shortly after he left the Trump White House, he was hired by Fox News, where he served as an intermediator between the network and the White House. So basically a liaison of sorts. Now, in the aftermath of the 2020 election, Shah was tasked with managing the anger of Trump and his supporters over Fox's election coverage. The problem was that Shah, like many others at Fox, didn't buy the election fraud lies. So here is what we know based on the documents that have been released as a result of the lawsuit. As Rudy Giuliani railed about voter fraud from the lobby of the Republican National Committee's headquarters a few weeks after the November 2020 election, Shah let loose in text messages with his reaction. Quote, "This sounds so effing crazy, by the way," wrote Raj Shah, who had served as a senior aide in Trump's White House 2 years before his hiring at Fox. Quote, "Rudy looks awful," a deputy wrote back, prompting Shah to respond that he objectively looks like he was a dead person voting 2 weeks ago.
They gotta give it to him. That guy at Fox News is funny.
There's more though, there's more. Now remember, these are the exchanges that are happening internally, right? They're making fun of Rudy Giuliani. They think the election lies are insane, but publicly on their broadcast, you get a different picture. Now, on the day after Tucker Carlson publicly challenged Sidney Powell, that was one of Trump's lawyers who was furthering all these ridiculous election lies, a Carlson producer weighed whether Carlson should devote time in his next show to Powell's claim that she had an affidavit that would link Dominion to Venezuela. Might want to address this, but this stuff is so effing insane. Vote rigging to the tune of millions? Come on, Shah wrote. Carlson's producer, Alex Pfeiffer, responded, "It is so insane, but our viewers believe it, so addressing again how her stupid Venezuela affidavit isn't proof might insult them."
Right. So this has to be, I'm going to read this out again. Carlson's producer, so Tucker Carlson's producer at Fox News, responded, "It is so insane, but our viewers believe it. So addressing it again, how her stupid Venezuela affidavit isn't proof might insult them."
Oh, we got to stop right there. I mean, that right there is the killer quote. That is Tucker Carlson's producer saying the things that that our viewers believe are insane. But if we tell them that it's insane, they might be insulted. So they know they're actively lying to their audience because the audience wants to be lied to. Isn't that exactly what we told you? We've been telling you that for years, right? And here it is. I mean, you couldn't get better proof, documentation from inside the building. The producer saying, these guys are nuts, but what are we gonna do? We can't insult them, so we have to keep lying to them.
No, look, I know we've talked about this before, but this latest batch of messages, I think, is the most extreme evidence of how much they despise their audience and how little they think of their audience, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so, we're gonna insult them, might want to avoid that. That's one thing, but they really think their audience is stupid, and that stood out to me. So Pfeiffer, who has since left the network, answered that debate dance was surreal, like negotiating with terrorists, he added.
Wow.
But especially dumb ones.
Wow.
Cousin effing types, not Saudi royalty.
He's saying basically his audience,
oh my God,
is worse than Saudi royalty and is particularly dumb terrorists. Tucker Carlson's producer. So, and today Tucker's in the news talking about how Trump might be a little autistic.
Jesus.
So,
Jesus.
Guys, look, it's capitalism. Every market needs to be served. And unfortunately, there's a segment of American media that says we're going to serve the part that is the most gullible. And we don't really believe what they believe, but it's just a product we're selling. You think all the...
Well, this is also the point that Russell Brand made, that news isn't news anymore. I mean, we all know that now, right? It's been like this for a long time, where every news agency or media conglomerate actually has a motive. They might have a financial or well, obviously they all have financial motives, but I mean a real financial control, power motive. And then to go down that line, they also have to be either divisive or pander to the divisions that have already been caused. And Russell Brand goes on about this all the time, that you can hardly go to any news, massive news media outlet nowadays and not think that you're going to get a biased view. And so this is obviously, the worst of the worst here, the kind of Fox News, the Sky Australia, GB News, these kind of things, right? They are usually the worst at it. But the truth is, they all have the same issue. I mean, CNN is biased and MSNBC is biased, and, all of them have their problems. I mean, the BBC, for God's sake, right? Some are just less obvious and some are just not as bad as each other, but they all have their angle. And that is why the likes of myself would always say, oh, there's a news story that looks interesting, and then you have to literally read across the board what everybody was saying about it to try and figure out what might be the truth and see if there's any place where you can actually find the original, just factual write-up of it, not the twisted, angled, biased version that then eventually, makes it to the public. So please let me know your thoughts below. Thank you very much for listening.